All right, let's dive right into this explainer and look at the $28,000 mistake. This is a fascinating and honestly pretty painful story that perfectly captures how our own minds can actually be our worst financial enemies. I mean, we all like to think we're perfectly rational with our money, right? We look at the numbers, we make a plan, and boom, we execute. But as you'll see, human psychology often has a completely different agenda.
So we're going to start right at the end of this story, looking at a massive, literally catastrophic loss of $28,000. Just to put that into perspective, that's a life-changing amount of money for most of us. It's a down payment on a house, a brand new car, maybe a year of college tuition. And a guy named David suffered this incredible financial blow, not because of some sudden market crash or a crazy, unpredictable black swan event. Nope. It happened simply because he flat out refused to sell. He just watched his hard-earned money evaporate, entirely because of a cognitive roadblock that honestly, so many of us fall victim to without even realizing it.
Now, you might be wondering, how did this whole ordeal actually start? Well, exactly the same way thousands of investments do every single day. David bought into a super hyped stock. You know the type. It was the company everyone was talking about. The future looked impossibly bright. And for a few blissful weeks, everything was going straight up. But then reality hit. The price dropped 10%, then 20%, then 30%. His friends who had actually bought in alongside him, well, they saw the writing on the wall and they sold. They cut their losses. But David didn't. He just kept repeating four incredibly dangerous words. It'll come back. He just kept hoping.
Let's walk through this slow, agonizing descent. In week 1, the stock is up, the dopamine is flowing, everything is great. By month 1, the drop begins. But it's what happens between month 2 and month 11 that's just deeply fascinating from a psychological standpoint. During this time, David wasn't really investing anymore. He was just hoping. Literally every single morning, he'd wake up, immediately check the chart, and pray for a green candle. Every night, he'd scour the internet, frantically searching for any tiny piece of good news to justify his position. He spent an entire year paralyzed, turning what was initially a painful but totally manageable $5,000 drop into an almost $30,000 disaster.
So let's zoom out from David's specific anecdote for a second and examine the actual psychology of losing. Why didn't he just click sell when he was down $5,000? Well, because doing so would force him to look in the mirror and admit failure. And let me tell you, our brains are hardwired to avoid that exact feeling at almost any cost.
The real culprit here is a concept called loss aversion. It's a psychological principle that basically dictates that the human brain absolutely despises realizing a loss. See, as long as you hold on to the stock, it's just a paper loss, right? It's theoretical. It could still turn around. But the absolute second you hit sell, it becomes permanent. You've locked it in. It is a realized loss. And to avoid making that loss a permanent reality, people will hold on to actively bleeding investments for months or even years, way longer than any rational analysis would ever justify.
Studies in behavioral finance show us this incredibly stark reality. The pain you feel from losing money is actually about twice as powerful as the joy of making that exact same amount. Think about it. If you find $50 on the sidewalk, you're going to be happy for a few hours. But if you drop $50 out of your pocket, man, that might ruin your entire week. The emotional toll of losing is just completely asymmetrical to gaining. And when David saw his portfolio shrinking, that disproportionate, overwhelming psychological pain completely paralyzed him. He just couldn't bear to rip the Band-Aid off because the pain of realizing the loss felt totally insurmountable.
And that brings us to a major difference in mindset, a real dividing line in the financial world. Beginners operate on hope. They hope for a recovery, and they tie their ego to their initial thesis. But professional investors, they know something most beginners don't. They know that taking a small, controlled loss is actually the ultimate defense. It's the exact mechanism that protects you from a catastrophic, portfolio-destroying loss like David's. Professionals don't look at a small loss as a failure at all. Actually, scratch that. They look at it as a cheap insurance policy against losing their shirt.
Which brings us to arguably the most important takeaway of this entire explainer. Are you ready? The market doesn't care what price you paid. It is a harsh truth for sure, but it's deeply liberating once you actually understand it. You see, the market is just an emotionless machine. It completely ignores your original buy-in price. It doesn't know who you are. It doesn't care about your hopes, your dreams, or how much you really need that money for a down payment. The market only cares about what happens next. By clinging to the price you paid, you're anchoring your decisions to the past, while the market is entirely focused on the future.
So successful investing really isn't about being some omniscient genius who's right every single time. Honestly, that's impossible.
True success comes from strictly following 3 simple steps. Step 1, simply knowing and acknowledging exactly when you are wrong. You gotta detach your ego from the ticker symbol. Step 2, decisively cutting the small loss before it metastasizes into something worse. And step 3, ultimately protecting your overall portfolio so you live to invest another day. It takes immense mental discipline to override our natural loss aversion. But executing these steps, that is exactly what separates the survivors from the folks who lose it all.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final provocative question to really think about. Have you ever held on to an investment simply hoping it would recover? Have you ever fallen into the exact same psychological trap that cost David $28,000? Take a hard look at your own portfolio right now. Are you holding on to something out of logic, or are you holding it out of loss aversion? I'd love for you to share your experiences in the comments below, and hey, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the money psychology that can literally save you thousands. Until next time, stay rational and stay focused.